all of it. Come to
Life can be only what you make it. When you're feeling down, you should never fake it. Say what's on your mind, and you'll find in time that all the negative energy, it will all cease, and you'll be at peace with yourself. You won't really need no one else.
Who are you?
My name is Taekwon Ruffin. I'm from Boston, Roxbury, Massachusetts.
When I first met Taekwon, he came to a group called Express Yourself, which is where we learned African drumming. And for most people, it's not something that they have already learned, and it can be pretty challenging. And Taekwon, being who he is and being from the area that he is, I first came in with a little tough, attitude about it and not really wanting to do it. But after he saw people like myself who were from similar neighborhoods and other men of color also drumming, he started to take a liking to it. And quickly over the course of a year, Taekwon started to become one of the best African drummers that we've seen.
Roxbury House, and my first shift there, who comes walking through the door but Taekwon? It was a real cool thing to see him, but it was different because he was grown up now. When I left Longview, he was smaller, and now at Roxbury House, he was grown up. One disappointing thing that he told me is that he wasn't really attending school much. Myself at that time, I worked at the McKinley Preparatory High School in the Fenway, and I had mentioned to him about possibly coming over there, and he said that he would talk to the people at Roxbury House and his workers. And then last year, we finally got him into the prep. We finally seen him graduate. We seen him come to the senior dinner, and he was the best dressed guy there, thanks to the people at Roxbury House who all had an affection for him and loved him and just wanted to see him make it.
I work at Sky Zone right now. I live at Roxbury Village. I just moved in last month, I'd say.
So how you like it over there?
Oh, it's just chill. Everything's on my own. Struggling, but
we were living in the South End of Boston, and we were there for quite a while. I would definitely say, if not for the closeness that we have and that we share, it probably would have been a lot more difficult than it was for him and for us as well. His grandmother was a very intricate part of him, his raising. So she's just as important as I am in that aspect with him. He has tremendous respect and love and admiration and everything else for her, just as much as he does for me. At that point, I really didn't care, because I knew my son needed help, and I couldn't help him in the way that he needed it. So my love for him kind of blocked everything out, that everybody else was saying, because he was more important to me than anything that anybody could say to me about what they may think will happen or what can happen or whatever the case may be. All I know is that, they were offering help for him, and that help that I couldn't give him, and that I couldn't even get from, medical, people, that were involved with him from the time he was born. I think that was, at that point, that's when I realized that, just being a parent, period, that, that's more important than anything, making sure he's okay, whether it be physically, mentally, whatever. And whoever can aid that, that was, that was my goal, as his parent.
Taekwon was probably about 6, 7 years old, and his mom was staying in the shelter, and I was the after-school coordinator at the shelter, and Taekwon wasn't even a part of the program. He just heard that we had snacks, and he would always come downstairs to come get snacks. I would help some of the other first graders with their homework, and you could just kind of always see that he always had this teaching thing where he always wanted to be teaching someone about something. So about 6 years later, I picked up a shift at Longview Farm, and as I'm sitting there, from behind me, I hear a voice like, "Hey, Mr. Daniel." And I turned around, and there goes Taekwon.
So when did you start with the Home for Little Wanderers?
When I was about 8 years old, I used to try to hang with my boys, run out, hop out my mom's window, my room window, just to go hang and chill in the park. I used to run off all the time. I never used to listen to my mother. I've been to the Italian home, the Bridge home. I've been to the KCC, Heritage House, Roxbury House, Longview Farm. A couple times I was in a couple foster homes. That didn't work out too well. At first, I probably didn't really think much of it because I was so little and I'd say incompetent in some ways. But as I got older and started realizing that I wasn't around my family all the time, I started to get sad, depressed, and stuff like that.
Probably, graduated from college and probably, going towards what it is he wants to do. I mean, he's expressed interest to me anyway in being a child therapist and working with kids and.
Sky is